snakes also. Put out a shallow dish of water. I have them on my ground. It's actually the bottom part of a potted plant, and it has to be shallow so the creatures can crawl in and out. Specifically box turtles, they don't understand that the ramp is on this side and they can drown. So you want to make sure that they can have all 4 feet crawling in and out to the water source if you're trying to provide water for box turtles. Plant native plants, Europe Native Plant Society. It's really important. And don't just plant a tree, which is great, but also plant trees and an understory and plants that cover the ground. Layers, correct. Leave the leaves. The decaying leaves is the #1 habitat for baby box turtles. It provides shelter for bugs and grubs that feed birds, the box turtles, garter snakes, all the creatures. Lightning bugs, right. And planting native trees, rather than putting out bird seed, which is a whole system of growing them over there, shipping them over here, processing them, just plant plants that are supposed to be here. I think this is a cedar waxwing eating a berry that it likes. This is a goldfinch here taking a bath in the water. Native plants, there's a whole book about this called, if you get a chance, read this, Nature's Best Hope, by Doug Talmage. It's fantastic. He says it way better than I can about how complex nature is. Most insects will only lay their eggs on certain types of plants. You've all heard of the monarch laying eggs on milkweed. There's a whole bunch of animals that a lot of insects that only lay their eggs on certain types of plants. So it's important to plant for diversity. And butterflies, there's a life cycle of butterflies. They start out as caterpillars, and then they morph into butterflies. And as caterpillars, are really, really important to baby birds. They're soft. If you've ever seen a mother bird feed her baby bird, they're not gentle at it. So you want to have something soft. They won't injure the baby bird you're feeding. They're relatively large. So the baby caterpillars, this is the mealworm, are really full of protein. It's really important for growing baby birds. And they're high in carotenoids, which is one of the things that's a building block for color in birds. Again, 90% of insects can develop only on 1 or 2 plant lineages. There's a zebra swallowtail on pawpaw trees, the spice bush swallowtail, named for the spice bush because it's supposed to plant. And sassafras? Good. Invasive plants, this is a whole other topic. They grow in places where our native plants should be growing. It would be supporting the ecosystem. Instead, invasive plants are growing here, nothing eats them, they don't support the wildlife. They also, picture kudzu, can take over, they can cut down trees, they prevent things from growing when they're out of control. Deer don't do things, they didn't co-evolve with them. So if you picture again the woodlot between Costco and Best Buy, just because it's human free doesn't mean there's good habitat for wildlife. Invasive plants, there's Nandina, there's Asiatic bittersweet. I have a horse that lives in Clifton, and the farmers thought they were letting a section of the farm still be nature, and it's completely tangled in bittersweet, and the trees are just starting to come down in the wind. It's awful stuff. Butterfly bush, people think they're really helping to plant because butterflies love it, but it's basically like candy. It's not really nutritious for the butterflies, and it's not a host plant. So instead, you can plant a plant that does support insects that will lay their eggs on it. The Bradford pear, this is back in, I think, February, March, they have these beautiful white blooms, and they're taking over all the grasslands, and it's a problem. Even if a lot of them were planted in our neighborhoods because it seemed like a good idea at the time, but they're not great trees. They die in the storms, and they smell awful in the springtime, and we created them to be sterile, but life found a way, and off they go, taking over wild areas. Japanese silkgrass grows at the forest floor. Deer don't eat it, baby box turtles love it, but it's preventing, it grows so thick and so tall that baby trees can't get a start through it. It's very invasive. Olive, again, prevents the growth of native trees, and it's not a host plant. It does have tasty berries. If you see them harvest the berries and cut it down. Other reminders, if you were to be dropped out into a forest or a golf course, where would you be able to survive longer? Probably the forest. There's mushrooms, there's grubs, there's things that live there. The lawn is basically just a desert with nothing that lives there. I mean, there's bugs that live in the ground, but it's not very diverse. So shrink the size of your lawn. spray chemicals. These are kind of things that are just good reminders. Mosquito-only bug sprays are not safe for other bugs, despite what the salesman will tell you. If you're spraying for mosquitoes, you're going to affect the other bugs out there, like lightning bugs. If you got a large lawn and tall grass, mow with your blades raised on your mower so you're not hitting box turtles. It's one of the leading causes for injury to them other than cars is lawnmowers and dogs. And if you plant native plants, you can make it look neat so the neighborhood doesn't complain as much by just trimming around the edges. You can make them look really nice. Here's a picture, which I don't know exactly what all these plants are, I haven't zoomed in on it, but if you plant to make it look nice, you can still use native plants to do that. Here's a picture of a birdhouse, and you know, if you put this in your backyard, and this is the little wren being very cute. And again, here's the kind of water dish that's really good for wildlife. Other reminders, be patient. If you find something nesting in your property, realize these baby bunnies take 2 weeks before they're on their own. So just, if you can keep your dogs aside, walk your dog on a leash to let them finish their life cycle, they'll be out of your yard shortly. Wild animals rarely want to interact with you, but we've taken a lot of their habitat, so they live here too. There's lots of resources that you can look at. I could give you lots of resources. I'm sure Nancy could also. Plantthelatest.org. There's the book I just recommended. There are native plant demo gardens. You can go see all native plants, making them look really, really pretty to see what you would incorporate in your own yard to help ecosystems in your yard. Blue Ridge Prism they help identify when to get rid of invasive plants. They're a really great resource.
And what does it stand for?
Oh gosh.
Partnership for Regional Invasive Species.
Thank you. You win the quiz. Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much all I had to say. So thank you guys for being here, for your interest, and thank you guys all for
on the snake on the bottom. Okay. Again, the map up top just kind of shows you the range of the states. The counties that are in white are basically where they didn't do surveys. Doesn't mean they're not there, but there wasn't any survey information available when they printed these maps. Copperheads are awesome at camouflage. As you can see, this is a picture at Lisa Bailey Park. To the top left here, one is right next to one of the plank bridges there. You can see it there. Especially in the fall time, a lot of leaves. Master camouflagers.
One on the right,
Top right side, the actual
things that are coming
out of the snake there at the top. So the fangs actually are hinged at the top that are attached to venom glands. And when they bite, they basically those unfold, they hit the prey, and then they fold back up into the roof of the mouth. And that venom is injected through that, those basically hypodermic needles. The bottom part here on the right hand, or the bottom left, is the side. That's a quarter that snake is laying next to. So when these guys are born, they're super small. But they have that getaway of that yellow tail. So they're about maybe size of a pencil or so. And when they're born, as you can see on the right side, they're born in what they call a fake egg. So we have snakes that have eggs. We have snakes that have fake eggs, like a copperhead. It's an embryo sac that the egg forms inside the snake, but then it's born without it. And then we have snakes that have live snakes when they're born, like garter snakes, water snakes, and things like that. When that copperhead's born in that embryo sac, and there's actually a really cool video on YouTube of the copperhead taking the first breath. As soon as it breaks that embryo sac, it'll go on to take that first breath, and it's ready to go. It is venomous day one. So again, these are just some pictures for reference. All right, we've got 3 copperheads in this picture. Can you guys find them? And hopefully you're not walking through this trail.
There's one right here.
There's one here. There's one right here. And there's one, yeah, in the top. Yep. So again, this was not a trail. We actually took these way out in the woods after we pulled them from someone's house. and we laid them out so we could take this picture to show folks. When you're out walking in the woods, even if you have a wooded area behind your house, you want to make sure you're watching where you're stepping. A good hiking boot, a good leather hiking boot, will protect you from these guys. Their things are not very big. So we want to show this because they can be dangerous, as far as not being able to see. So we talk about, what you see on social media a lot of times is, how do I tell a venomous snake from a non-venomous snake? And the first thing that comes up is the slit eyes, or the head shape. Right? Triangular head means venomous, not legitimate. And the reason is because non-venomous snakes, like this rat snake right here, this is a juvenile rat. This is flaring its head to look venomous. It's one of the few defenses that they have. So all non-venomous snakes in Virginia can flare their head up to look triangular to make them look venomous. Okay? So when you look at this picture here, and ignore this, would you be able to tell the difference between this juvenile rat snake and this eastern copperhead? No, right? They are very similar. So we want to make sure we're not doing that. We need to know the pattern. We know the patterns of Hershey Kiss. We know that. So that's how we ID copperheads. The other one you'll see is if it has a slit pupil, it's definitely a definitely a venomous snake. One, you should never be that close to a snake to see the slit to begin with. And two, copperheads will dilate their pupils often. So this is Penny. This is the one that I have that I use for educational. And she dilates her pupils every time I go down into my basement and turn on the lights. She'll dilate her pupils around, and then they'll go back to the slit. They use that slit eyes because it's easier for them to hunt at nighttime. So it's easier for them to see. Studies show that they actually see kind of like infrared, body heat, and that's how they pick up prey. I have one that my wife knows about. The other 8, she doesn't know. She's aware. She tolerates it. I guess that's for the weird. So again, why are these snakes so important? Why we shouldn't be killing them? Because the venom that they provide actually helps us as well. So not only are they using that to help control rodent populations, copperheads, believe it or not, can actually tell the difference between a sick rat and a healthy rat. And they will go after the sick ones first because they're easier prey. So that helps from a nature side of things where we can control the rat population. Without snakes, we'd be probably overrun with rodents most likely. But again, on our side, there's a lot of things that they're doing that the venom is helping. Breast cancer is a big one. There's been some big breakthroughs on breast cancer cures with snake venom. So copperheads, all the new research here, diabetes, types of cancer, blood clotting, etc. They're using this stuff right now. So this is another reason why when somebody calls and says, I have a copperhead in my yard, I'm going to kill it. It makes me sick in my stomach because when I get to it as soon as I can and teach them a little bit about that snake so they're not getting rid of it. So we have to sustain our population as much as possible because we have enough people that are killing these things on a regular basis. And a lot of the non-venomous snakes are being killed because they think it's venomous, so they end up killing those anyways. This is some bite information. If you were, for some reason, out hiking and you got bit by a copperhead, one, do not buy this stupid thing. Right, it does not work. There's a razor blade in there for some reason. I'm not really sure why. There's a piece of thread and some type of bandage or something. So don't waste your money on that. But what you can do when we look at venomous bites, and I use copperheads as an example because most of our bites over the last 3 years have been copperhead related because they're the most commonly seen or dealt with. People are getting bit on the foot, on the toes, in the hand. And the reason is they're going out at night. They're taking the trash out barefooted or flip-flops. They're getting tagged, or they're landscaping, and they end up getting tagged by that snake they didn't see. So we have, there's a ton of people, about 8,000 people bit by venomous snakes throughout the year. But again, there's things that you can do if you are ever bitten. Okay. So the first thing is if you're ever bitten, if you can take a picture of the snake so you can take it with you, that would be best. Do not try to take the snake with you to the hospital. You bring it in, number one, and you're going to take a chance of getting bitten for the second time. You don't want to do it, or you're already in shape to where you need to get to the hospital and just focus on that. So there are a few things here that I focus on not doing if you are bitten, and that's becoming over-observant. Try to keep yourself calm as possible. The venom is in your bloodstream already. Every time that your heart pumps, it's pumping it through your stream. So the more worked up you get, the worse you're going to make yourself. Now, I know it's hard. If you were to ever get bit by a snake in general, most of the time we're all freaking out because we just got bit by a snake, right? But again, getting bit by a venomous snake, it can be a little bit more worrisome. Do not apply a tourniquet. The reason is, if I was bit in the hand and I apply a tourniquet to, say, my forearm, what I'm doing is I'm isolating that venom in one part of my arm, and it's actually doing more damage to the area. It's in your bloodstream. Just get to the hospital as quick as you can. Cold compresses, we had proven out that do irritate and actually hurt. There was a guy, ex-Marine last year, who got bit in the hand, and he immediately put a cold press on and regretted it about 3 minutes later. He said it actually intensified the pain. He was also the individual that decided he wasn't going to go to the hospital because he was a Marine. And he ended up in intensive care 2 days later. So you just don't know what the venom's going to do to you. People don't die from the venom bite itself. They die from what the venom can cause. If you have a medical condition, something you're not aware of, that can cause it to escalate a little bit more. And then do not take a knife out and try to cut the bite open. I guess that's why the razor blade is in there. Because that's not going to do anything. Like I said, the blood's in your stream already. All you're going to do is make that wound get worse, okay, and more a chance of getting infected. And then, of course, only in the movies do we actually suck the venom out with a bite. And if that even worked, if you had a cut in your mouth, you've now venomated yourself twice. So just don't mess with it. Just stay calm. If it's you by yourself, try to get yourself to the hospital as quick as possible. Call 911 if you don't think you can. If you have somebody with you that can help you. I get questions all the time about, well, if I'm out in Shenandoah and I know they have tempers, and they do, what if I get bit and I'm 3.5 miles from my car? Well, hopefully you have service, because I'm aware of that maybe speeds up that process. But again, like that Marine, it was 2 days later, he ended up in intensive care, but he wasn't dying, right? He just was really sick. So when you get bit, you get nauseous. The bite itself it burns a little bit, and it hits you. So again, we're not going to cut, and we're not going to suck it out. Those are no's. And do not take any medication. Just drink some water, and as calm as possible. All right, sustainability. This is, again, we're educating you in the hopes that you're able to help with sustaining our species. Okay, so first off, glue traps. No. Now, glue traps we do use occasionally if we have a small snake in the house we can't find, but we're checking those glue traps on a regular basis, or the homeowner basis. A lot of times these glue traps are used and they are just put down and forgotten about. The next thing you know, you find a snake 2 days later. This was an eastern garter snake here that was stuck, that was released, was fine. It was a northern black racer juvenile. You can see right here the mouth is open. That's because the jaw stuck to the sticky. So these snakes get on these traps and they suffer. And they will pass. They can dehydrate within 20-25 minutes. Especially in the summertime. This is a sticky trap that you have in the garage, right? Things like that. And then, of course, I don't know what the heck this contraption was. Somebody made some type of their own sticky trap, and this snake had actually been on there for a couple of days, and it had passed over. So again, just not good. Any animal that gets stuck, I mean, literally gets birds and other mammals that get stuck with things. These sticky traps are just dangerous, and if these animals die, horrible deaths. Garden netting is another one, and I'm talking about the flimsy garden netting that you use. We're trying to get people to move to a harder gauge netting, something that the snakes can't get intertwined with. Is it Eastern Copperhead in Centerville? This one was released. Okay, when we work with venomous snakes, we work in pairs. We have one person spear in the head while the other is cutting through and getting the wire out. This is a rat snake that was freed, but this one had a couple lacerations around where the netting was kind of cutting off circulation again. And this one was unfortunate because it's something about this third picture that don't ever survive. I didn't do that on purpose, but this was a roll of netting that was laying on the deck that they had been working on a project. They just left it on the deck. And snakes, rat snakes specifically, are very curious. And the snake just went up on the deck, got caught up in it, and baked in the sun. And he died. So again, I get it. Landscaping is important. People love to do that. But if we can move to something a little bit harder to where the snakes can't get tangled into it, it's just a better option. But we can free them. It's a releasing process. Basically freeing, cutting this out with just some little snips here. If they have damage where you can actually see them bleeding or there's open wounds, then that's where we would get an arrow and get the rehabbers to take a look at it. A lot of times these snakes, they're pretty hardy. Their scales are pretty tough. And most of the time we're able to free them, soak them, and then we check them out, and then we